Hello, welcome to video number 7. This video is about freeform modeling or sculpting. So in previous videos we discussed about parametric modeling where we have sketches, then we extruded some profiles out of them. So that's more like a traditional CAD modeling approach. So freeform sculpting, this will mostly remind you the time you've been playing with Play-Doh or clay, something like that. So even in previous video I briefly talked about this freeform modeling. So that is a tool that been mostly used by industrial designers because they can model these organic shapes with ease, so they don't have to worry about their performing mathematics about these curvatures and everything. All right, so without further ado, let's get into Fusion 360 and let's do some sculpting. I'm going to slowly walk you through an exercise. We are going to model this mouse. It's a normal computer mouse that got some organic shapes. In that process, I should be able to show you all the important steps that involved in freeform modeling. In sculpting, we are given a lump of digital clay. So to make that into an intended shape, we need to have some reference, some guideline to follow. Therefore, in this case, we're going to start with setting those images of the mouse as canvas in our workspace. We have done that before in our previous exercise, so I'll just get to that and just walk you through pretty quickly. Set from my computer, side view, go with the right side, and rotate it, slide to that side and enter 90 degrees. Expand it a bit, then we can do calibration later on. Okay, at the same time let's do the calibration as well. Canvases will be here, right click, calibrate. So I got the dimensions here. I can simply give those dimension marks for my calibration, so 105. Okay, that's good. And let's go to the other one. Insert from my computer, top view. That should go to top, and I think that should rotate 180. You should expand a bit and say OK, and I click on the top view on the view cube, right click, calibrate here, 65. There it is. Alright, the groundwork is done. Now we have some sort of a guidance on from where to push and pull to achieve this shape. Alright, so the important part now is bringing in that digital clay, that material here. So that located in the sculpt tool is located in solid tab, create panel. We got something called create form. So that is a freeform tool. So when I click on the freeform, notice the whole toolbar is going to change accordingly, and replacing that with all the freeform related tools. So the key here is selecting the primitive that closest to your shape. So that way we got minimal amount of work to achieve this correct shape. So basically this mouse is a box, isn't it? So we got some shapes, some different organic shapes here. But if you look at the boundary box that surrounds this entire shape, it's basically a box if you look at from top. So let's go ahead and bring a primitive called this box, and then we find out how we're going to set it up so we can convert that box into a computer mouse. All right, so I'll click on this box primitive, then it will ask me to select a plane. Select that. It did not automatically reorient that, but doesn't matter, we know how to do that. Just click on the top button on the view cube. Now I can start with this origin, and this works as a click. Now it just attached to the mouse pointer, just it waiting for the next click to determine the size here. You can see the dynamically changing numbers. You can give the dimensions here, but the thing is you don't have to be very specific on that, because this is going to be a flexible uh, material, so you can pull and push to get get to the right shape, but just approximately bring it to the, like, around the boundary and let go. That should do that. So still we are in the create box tool here. So we are still at the very initial stage, that's setting up this lump of material. So we haven't still finished breaking it down into portions. So in order to push and pull, we need to have it broken down into multiple pieces. So that is what this stage is doing. So by default, it has broken down to 2, 2, and 2, both on all three length, width, and height wise. If you, by any chance, if you don't see these edges right now, you might be in the incorrect display style. If you don't see them, the edges here, go to visual display styles, sorry, display settings, visual styles, and make sure you have selected the edges shaded with visible edges only. If you have it as shaded, you will not see those edges, so you won't be able to uh, partition that without seeing them, or you won't be able to, you know click on the edges. So make sure you go to display settings, visual style, and change the visual style to shaded with visible edges only. There it is. Now at this stage, you got some sliders. With ease you can uh, change the number of partitions you have on each direction. So you can see the plus minus signs. If you go plus side, you can see it's breaking down into different pieces, different partitions. The more partitions you have, the more control you will have. That means like high resolution, but more headache as well, because that means you're going to need to have simple adjustments in each and every phase when you're trying to achieve a certain shape. So it is advisable to have a moderate amount of faces, preferably an even number. Why? Because that way you can like they evenly distribute both sides, so you can have a nice symmetry line, which is going to be extremely important. I'll explain to you in next 5 minutes. So have a moderate amount of partitions broken down in each directions, length, width, height. If you really want later on, you can bring them, you can add some edges later on. So this side I'll add 4. Height wise, maybe yes, yeah, that should be enough. So let me move up a bit. Okay, so now it's just a matter of pushing in and pulling out to bring it to the mouse shape here. Once you're done with this stage, you can say okay. One side and symmetry, so have it as mirror. That's fine. I'll show you the symmetry thing now. Okay, so what's the symmetry does here? Notice I got 3 things. I got vertices, I got edges, and I have faces here. Each of them you got control. You can pull, push from there, but the behaviors are different here. So let me go ahead and let me remove the symmetry and add a new symmetry here. So you may have noticed this green line. So that is basically the mirror. So that's going to apply the symmetry for this object. For an example, if I go modify, if I select this vertex, if I pull this one, notice here, it's a real-time symmetry, real-time mirror. So you just, whatever the operation I do on this right side of the mirror is going to apply on the other side. Control C, and I'm going to change this mirror now, because if you look at this mouse, this front to back, the geometry is different. So having the mirror on this place right now is not going to be helpful. So I want the mirror along this line from left to right. So I'm going to Symmetry tool here, clear symmetry, select that face and say OK. That symmetry is gone. To add a symmetry, what I do, I click on that button here, then select opposite faces like that. Number 1, see it labeled here, and number 2. So automatically it just selected the line, the edge in between of those faces and made the symmetry line on that. Now if I click on one of the edges here, notice the other side is looking in highlighting in a yellow color. This face, the clicked one's gonna be highlighted in blue color. The mirror one you can see in yellow color. That gives me an indication that if you make any change here, it's gonna get affected. I mean, the other face also going to be affected by the same thing. All right, so now let's look at the modification here. Edit the faces here, edit the form. Before we start, I want to tell you that this is the operation of sculpting is totally different from the parametric modeling here. So this is more like an experimental thing. How good your model is going to look like and how fast you can do the operation depends on how much experience you have on this tool and how good are you with using your computer mouse. I myself don't have much experience on that because this is not something I do on daily basis. So I just want to show you guys how to do this. So don't judge how this one look like when I'm doing these operations, but learn the steps. Those are the things important for you. And I'm sure if you spend enough time with this tool, I'm sure you're gonna be better than me in these operations in a short time. So it depends on how much work you're gonna put on this. All right. Okay. So to edit the form, I'm gonna click on this edit form. So it's one of these modifying tools. There's a whole bunch of tools. You will learn some of them as we go on. So edit form is the most important one. Then you got this edit form window pop up here. Then, so let me click one of the edges here. Click. I have this, what do you call these manipulators. I usually have this multi one turn on. Also, you can have just the translations. So it's just gonna go left and right like this. So you can see how it's changing here. You can pull up this vertex. That's all you can have control here. So this box here it is always a combined motion here. You got freedom to go like multiple directions. That's what it does. These arrows only restricting you onto those pointed directions. Also the rotations, you can just rotate and twist especially if you select a face. There you go. So you can twist the whole thing. And the scaling, you can scale up down. What the middle one's going to do is going to go on like a 2-directional scaling up. Other ones are only 1-directional. So what I prefer is the multi, because sometimes you're going to end up doing rotations, scaling, and all this, what is this one, the translation all at once at a certain point, or sorry, the certain word is or face. So you can simply pull, then rotate in the same time, do things like that. Okay, so this is how the forming is going to work. So it looks like a fun job, isn't it? Okay, so I'm taking you back to the time with playing with Play-Doh. All right, so let me undo and bring it back to the place I was. Okay. All right, so let me remind you that selection methods here. I think I briefly touched this one in the first video or something. Remember the selection methods, top left to right, and right to left. Left to right, right to left. So you can see clearly a difference, right? There's a solid line and a yellow color box. dotted line and the, sorry, that was orange color, this is yellow color box. So what the difference is, if you select this selection, now I'm going to have this vertex and that edge only selected. So this selection only selects the object that fully encompassed in that shape, like that. So if I let go right here, right now it won't be selecting any of these faces, 1 2 3, these faces. It only be selecting this edge here and the vertex here. This one is the mirror. But other side, it selects anything that touches here. So I barely, let me zoom in. I'm going to barely touch this face like that, and it's going to get selected. So sometimes when you are doing these operations with the form, you might end up selecting multiple faces, multiple edges, two face, one edge, like that. That the freedom of selection is very important. Sometimes you need only to exclude some items, include. So practicing this is important here. All right, so let's get to work now. All right, so I'll start with going into an orthographic view, looking from a side perpendicularly, and try to get an idea of, okay, what are the surface modifications I need to make, and how do I, what are the edges, vertices, or faces I'm going to have to pick to achieve that goal. So what I notice here is the whole front end need to come down to have that, decline shape on the mouse. So I'll start from there. I select, okay, so I select these two edges and try to push down. There it is, getting somewhere. Okay, and here. Alright, so I can select multiple faces like that and move them up. Rotate a bit. And yeah, so both of these edges, and scale them down. It's just slight adjustments you're going to make until you achieve the correct shape. So more like you're gonna have to select more than one edge or face when you do that. Otherwise it's going to be like very pointed change, so it's not gonna look that good. So to make the uniform look, you're gonna have to capture a larger area. Just rotate around, look from different angles, and just balance it. From the side, it roughly seemed to be okay. Now we can look at the top view. Okay, so side need to be pushed in. Okay, so we scaled in multiple directions in the same time. Okay, so that must have given you some idea of how this job done. I mean, you can move them all inside. I mean, from the middle you can push them in. Oh, one more thing. If you double click on an edge, it just select the entire ring around it. But in my case here, I don't want that option. and if you want to bring them out, you can also do that. Okay, so when you finish with your freeform, I know my case is not perfect, but it's reasonable enough. It has some more shape here. So when you're done with this freeform, you can say OK to the edit mode, but now still you are in the freeform model. So you need to go click on this finish form button to come out of that. Once you click on finish form, right now it looks like now it is acting like a solid. All right, so one thing I want to pay attention here, the history, the timeline here. I got the two canvases here and just only one form. So all the changes I made so far, the editing forms is not recorded because they are considered as direct editing operations. So it's not, the Fusion 360 is not saving them as steps here because it's just pushing and pulling here. Unlike if you had remember the assembly test we have, so parametric model, the Fusion 360 is recording all the steps, operations we made. See all the extrusions, fillets, because they are two totally different set of modeling methods. So in this case, we are only going to have this form here. All right, so let me turn off these two canvases. So now this works like a solid here. If I go to bodies, you go, this is the body too. So when you come to this part, you can do other modifications here. Example, you can have a slot for the mouse roller. In fact, let's do that now. Origin, okay, that's over there. So let me make another plane in this level so we can make the sketch for the mouse roller cut. Construct from this plane up, I think around that much. It should be good. Yeah, okay. And quickly make a sketch. Select that plane and no, other side. There it is. Okay, good. So I go to slot. Maybe there to here. I roughly give dimensions here. That's the slot for the mouse roller cut. Right click, press pull, select that shape, cut maybe that much. Okay. See, that's a cut operation I made on a shape I made through Freeform sculpting. You can do all the other operations here. You can have some extrusions on the other faces and modify the way you like it to be. Okay, so that's basically about sculpting here. One other important thing I want to show you is inserting edges after the initialization. So this is the initialization stage where you determine the subdivisions in all three directions. Once you pass that, you can't go back to that level. So if you want to add a new edge, you need to go to modify and insert new edge. Then click on the edges that you're going to use as reference. Then click give it the place you want to add the new edges, like in this example. All right, so when I looked at your project, I saw some of you are developing some wearable like vest and waistband sort of things. Those are also going to be some organic shapes. There's no way you're gonna design a vest or t-shirt or something through parametric modeling. So in this example, what I'm going to show you, first of all, I'm gonna need to have like a canvas kind of a thing. Remember when you are modeling that mouse before, we had an image to use as a canvas. You can also use a 3D model as my reference. So just say if I want to design a t-shirt or something, a shirt, I need to have a human upper body to wrap my design around it. So that's what I'm doing here. So I quickly designed this human upper body through sculpting again. Then I'm going to show you how to use planes again a sculpting mode. It's similar to the boxes to design your fabric items. I created this upper body, then I go finish form. Make sure you click on that button and convert that into a body, otherwise that will not be appeared in your file. And save the object. Alright, so now that's saved as a solid here. I'm going to open up a new file here and save it, give it a name like West. Alright, so I go to my data panel, then I go the upper body, drag and drop. Take some time. There it is. Say okay. Okay, so now the mannequin is there. Now we just need to model the vest to go around that. Alright, so let's start by going into create form. As soon as I get there, you can see the upper body has gone to a bit of an transparent uh, view style, but still visible enough for me to do the sketching around. Alright, so I'll click on plane and select on front view, rectangle. So there's a plane window here. It tells me what kind of a plane I'm going to have. The plane is going to be a center rectangle. I'll start from there. So the plan is I'm going around the waist. I'm going to have a circle. Just the main goal is just going making sure that we go around the body. After that we can go from bottom to top. So length faces 2, that should be good. So okay, so that is the plane. That is basically the starting place. Go to modify, bring it forward. That's too much. Okay, that's good. First thing, having the symmetry activated. Symmetry, click and click, 2 faces done. You can see the green line appearing here. Okay, so now only thing we need to do is just go around one side of the waist, the other side automatically created. Alright, so one important thing I want to show you here is creating the plane partitions as we go. So when I click on one of the objects, one of the edges here, and go to modify, notice what happens here. When I click on Alt and draw, let go, press back Alt and draw again. Notice as I move on, I'm creating new partitions here, and I can wrap around the waist as we go. So this is going to make your job a lot easier. Notice that even the other directions you can do that. Press and hold Alt key in your keyboard, move up. Okay, so that's the trick I'm going to use. So let me start over from here. Okay, so you might have to do some turning around all the time just to see where you're going. Alright, so click on the edge. Already clicked, and basically what you're doing, you're just scaling on that direction here. So Alt, there, Shift and middle mouse button, turn around this way. It's looking good. Pre-orbit, not pre-orbit, constant. Notice we are nicely wrapping around the body. Once you come close to join the two bodies together, you click OK, then go to modify and merge edge. Then click on one of the edge, then click on the other one. Sorry, one at a time. Edge group 1, click. Edge group 2, say OK. There you go. Automatically stitched there. Nicely done. Okay, so now the next part is easy. So you double click on the edge. Now we have selected the entire ring. Now press and hold the Alt key in the keyboard. Go to modify, Alt key in the keyboard. You can keep growing. While you're growing, you can change the curvature as well. We can stop, let go, then press and hold Alt again, left button, done. Now from here onwards you can start expanding. Go to the front view so we can have a better look. Okay, so from here you can stop and try to manage the top part. So I'll do one more in the bottom part as well. Double click so we can have the entire ring selected. Then press on this square, Alt key, move it down. While moving down, you can go left and right. It's going to expand and retract. Okay. All right. So once you come to this level, so if this is a waist, simply you can go from this edge. So you can select only one edge. Alt key, move this one down. Look at that. Turn around. Alt. Just go around the shoulder. Then align with roughly align with the back side of it. It's probably too much. Yeah, so then you can say OK. Then we can go to modify, merge edge. One already selected, go to the second one, select this edge and say OK. That's automatically stitched for. That's the waist done by using the plane that's included in the sculpting. Okay. So after that you can do the other operations to have some other the buttons or the other pockets or something. You can follow the same method here. So when I can help you individually with your own project, so at least I just want to give some starting point to start with this thing. Don't forget to click on finish form. Oops, that's that seems a bit tight, isn't it? Yeah, because I didn't adjust the curvatures of the waist to match with the body. Anyway, so let's turn this one off. Looks okay. You might notice some difference how it appears, the colors and all, right? And if you expand this body section, you're gonna notice this. That's a symbol you may have because I haven't covered so far in this video series. So this indicates that is a surface. That means technically it does not have a thickness because we created this one through a plane. So to convert that into a solid, we need to add a thickness to that. So that is done through this surface section here, surface toolbar, because that's a surface. Thickening is a surface operation. I go to surface and create, then we got something called thicken. We select the object that needs thickening, then we can give a thickness. So usually something with fabric, we can give a 2 mil thickness. 2 mil, okay, there it is. When it's done, you can add a material. Select all, right click. Appearance, we go to fabric. Yeah, fabric gray, white, apply it there. There it is. And you can turn off, no, sorry, go to shaded. Some fabric. So there's more, I mean, when you go pretty detailed on these appearances, there's something called texture mapping to make it look more realistic. That's a bit more advanced stuff. Well, if I get a chance, I'll talk about that. Alright, so that's all for sculpting. When we have individual sessions, I can help you with your projects, and anything I missed I can cover in there. In the next video, I'll be talking about creating engineering drawings, how to communicate your designs for with manufacturers, or how to make proper documentation with that. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one.